Hi friends, Mrs. Muslami again, back with another poetry lesson for National Poetry Month. So today I want to talk to you about why authors write about their past. Why do they write about past experiences and include flashbacks in their writing? And I do want to remind you that one way to become a really good author or poet is to look at what the pros do. Try to emulate their style, try to use their work almost as a model or a guide for your own, at least at the beginning until you form your own style. So again, today we're talking about poetry writing, memories and flashbacks. I want you to think about why authors choose to write about their past. So we're going to look at this poem by a poet named Ralph Fletcher. It's called The Good Old Days. Sometimes I remember the good old days, sitting on the kitchen floor with my brothers and sister, each on their own square of cool linoleum. I'm fresh from the bath, wearing baseball pajamas. Mom gives us each 2 cookies, a glass of milk, a kiss goodnight. I still can't imagine anything better than that. So as you think about that poem, think about what you like about it. What stands out to you? What do you wonder? What do you notice? One thing I noticed is that Ralph Fletcher chose to write about when he was younger. He included details that helped me visualize that memory. Poets often use details that connect to the 5 senses. So if we think about the 5 senses, we've got sense of seeing or vision, sense of hearing, sense of smell, sense of taste, and sense of touch. And one thing that he alluded to was the vision. What I could see that kitchen floor, him and his siblings sitting on the kitchen floor. He appealed to the sense of smell when he talked about being fresh from the bath. I could almost smell that fresh scent, that soap when you come out of a bath. The taste, he appealed to that sense with the cookies. I could almost smell those fresh baked cookies coming out of the oven. And then the sense of touch would be the cool linoleum. And if you don't know, linoleum is a type of tile that is used on floors. So when I wanted to emulate his style, I took a little while to think about some of my own strong emotional memories. And after thinking for a few minutes, I decided to use the topic of my first dog, Maggie. I even looked at some old pictures to sort of jog that memory or bring it back to me. So I started thinking about different words and phrases, moments that were tied to her, emotional times, and especially things that tied to the 5 senses, like Ralph Fletcher did. And I used his poem as a framework. So here's what I came up with. Your furry face. Sometimes I remember your furry face. All day, you'd wait by the door for me to come in. Your soft golden fur nuzzled warm in my lap. The jingle jangle of your collar meant you were always near. Our first fur baby, Maggie. I still can't imagine anything better than that. Can you tell which of the 3 senses I used in my poem? If you guessed seeing or vision, hearing, and touch, then you were right. In the beginning, when I talked about her furry face and her golden fur, hopefully you could visualize that. You could see that in your mind. It's a little bit of imagery. When I used the details of her soft fur and how she nuzzled warm in my lap, that was appealing to the sense of touch or feeling. And then the jingle jangle of her collar would be the sense of hearing, right? A little bit of onomatopoeia there, sound words to get you to really hear that sound that brought back so many good memories for me. So when I taught this lesson last year with Mrs. Lewandowski, she also gave it a try. She wrote her own poem about her good old days, and it goes like this. Sometimes I remember the good old days, jumping off the pier with my siblings and cousins, plunging into the river and feeling the oozing of the bottom of the river between my toes, sitting around the table, shuffling the cards and hearing the ringing of the bell, watching as the cards ace, queen, 10 are laid down, 31, the clink of the dime in the jar as the loser has to pay. There's nothing better than the summers spent with my family. Again, so many of the different senses. I could feel that oozing of the bottom of the river between my toes. I could connect to that because I used to go camping with my cousins and we'd jump into the lake and do the same thing. I love how she used a little onomatopoeia as well for sound words, the clink of the dime. I could definitely hear that. And I could tell that this memory was nostalgic for her. It brought back really good memories. So I want you to try this activity. I want you to pause the video and set a timer, 2 minutes or more. You could do longer than 2 minutes and think of your own memories of your good old days. What comes to mind? What brings back strong feelings and emotions for you? What are some topics that you could write about? Events, traditions, people, anything that comes to mind. Just go ahead and do a word splash, brainstorm it all on paper. Once you've done that, some tips before you start writing your own poem is choose one of the memories that you care deeply about, that evokes strong feelings for you. They could be positive, like Miss Lundowski and mine. They may also be negative. Sometimes writing is a way to get through those feelings, to work through them. Try to include at least 2 of the 5 senses. Use details and vivid description words like adjectives. And then you can use that original framework of Ralph Fletcher's poem as a guide to get you started with the first and last lines. So when you start writing, you could use this as a guide. My good old days, starting with the first line of his poem and then ending with the same 2 lines. As a reminder, these are our 5 senses, to try to include a couple of them. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. That's what's so great about it. And it just gives you kind of a springboard to go off of. So hopefully, as I talked about all of these different elements of Ralph Fletcher's poem and my own and Miss Lundowski's, you thought a little bit more about why authors write about their past. Why do you think authors write about their past? For me, writing about my past brought back great feelings of joy to think about my first dog. For me, she was more than a pet. She was a best friend. And I hope that others can connect to that feeling of joy, whether it's for a person. It's just a great feeling to share with others. What are you waiting for? Go give it a try. Write your own good old days poem. I can't wait to see what you come up with. I know last year when my 6th graders really sat down and started writing, so many emotions came out of them. They made me cry. I'm an emotional person, so that's not very surprising. But I just love seeing what you think about and what you care about. So if you write it, please share your doc with me. I would love to see what you come up with. Thanks. Happy writing.